going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now,
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, with another tier 0 threat looming just around the corner in Infinite Forbidden, I thought I'd give you guys a few cards, 6 specifically because we like even numbers, a few cards that you could potentially include in some of your lists depending on what you're going to play. Now, you are definitely going to be seeing Fiendsmith in some way, shape or form. It's a new hot thing on the block. Everybody's going to be gravitating towards it, and it's definitely going to be something that you're going to be seeing quite a lot if you go into any kind of like regionals, any kind of like nationals, anything like that, any OTS championships. It's going to be everywhere, ladies and gents, so brace yourself. However, what I will say is I've come to kind of like tier 0 formats in the sense of you can actually just play what you want. If you want to actually go hard and win, you know what deck's the best deck, you know how it's constructed, you know what to use. However, there is a little bit of fun to be had in trying to just crack the best deck, find some kind of weird card that can just like break that deck apart basically. And there's actually 13,000 cards in the game as we speak, or north of 13,000, so 13,000 and increasing, so definitely something to worth mention about. But without wasting any more time, ladies and gents, let's get into the cards. So it's no doubt that Fiendsmith are going to be able to play through a plethora of hand traps, ladies and gents. Your low impact ones, your Veilers, your Ashes, your like Infinite Impermanence, for example, although Infinite Impermanence is a little bit in a different category. They're all strong cards in their own right. They're not strong enough to stop Fiendsmith and the potential that it's going to do. But one card that can actually hinder its approach to the game basically is Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird shutting down searching, it's just, yeah, it's unheard of. It will allow them to still make somewhat of a board, but nowhere near the type of board that they would have made without the Droll and Lockbird resolving. So I do feel like Droll is definitely an important factor going forwards, along with some of the other decks that are coming out. Like we're so worried about Fiendsmith and Snake Eye being a thing. There's like Whitewoods. Like I played against Whitewoods online not too long ago, and it searched a bunch and it kicked my ass. It produced this crazy board. It's got spell cards that search, it's got monsters that search, spell cards that search. So Droll is definitely going to be a mainstay coming forward, ladies and gents. So make sure you've got your Drolls in the side, potentially even in the main deck, especially once Infinite Forbidden lands and drops. So yeah, Droll and Lockbird. Next up, and in combination with Droll and Lockbird, is Nibiru, ladies and gents. Now, Nibiru never really is good by itself, just because most meta decks right now, or just meta decks generally, have the ability to just play through Nibiru, play past Nibiru, play under Nibiru. So Nibiru by itself is never really a good thing. However, paired with another hand trap, Nibiru can be devastating. Droll and Nibiru, ladies and gents, if you manage to get that combination in your hand, you are feeling nice, especially against Fiendsmith, because Droll will just substantially weaken their board, meaning they can't overextend to the kind of levels that they're normally used to, and then Nib will just be able to check the rest of the combo basically. And if you time it right, you can actually just shut down their turn, because they can't search for extenders or utilize the extenders in the best way. They're just kind of stuck with a Nibiru token on field and have blown a load of their resources. So Nib is always going to be a good card in conjunction. It's always good to kind of like check the level of a format. Can you play Nib? Can you play under Nib? Can you play over Nib? What, yada yada yada. But Nib is definitely nice in conjunction with another hand trap, most notably like Droll at this moment once Infinite Forbidden drop. Now, the next card I would like to talk about is actually DD Crow. Now, there's a reason why I've lined up the first 3 slots with hand traps, ladies and gents. It's mainly because allowing your opponent to like build a board or build up resources or set their strategy up is a tricky situation to put yourself in. You might not necessarily draw the combination of cards to be able to crack that board. Board breakers don't always break the board, and boards can be rebuilt very, very easily, especially with the consistency of some of the decks that are coming out now. However, DD Crow, along with some of the other hand traps that I mentioned previously, do go in some way, shape or form to kind of like check that recursion basically. Hitting things out of the graveyard, whether it be spells, traps, monsters, is very, very important, ladies and gents. And not being a once per turn is another little bit of a caveat. So if you do draw 2, you can actually shut a couple of decks down. There's a few things you can hit in Fiendsmith, Laurie being one of them, Fabled Laurie. So it's not the best hit. There are other hits out there which I'm going to save for another video, but just being able to hit key combo pieces out of the graveyard to stop overextension is really, really good. Promethean Princess targets, for example, anything in grave. So definitely a worth a shout with a DD Crow, ladies and gents, and yeah, just keep that in mind. Now, another card that has just been reprinted in the Rarity Collection 2, but not the best art in my own opinion. I like the OG art. Is Phantasme. Phantasme is a crazy good card right now, and it will be going forward just because of literally Fiend Link. You've got Yubao that's doing a load of linking with Fiend monsters and just doing crazy combos that just end on just masses and masses of interruption. You've got Snake Eye, which is a very, very heavy link strategy, and then you've obviously got the Fiendsmith stuff, which literally relies on link. So Phantasme being able to dig into your deck to get the cards to be able to stop your opponent is nice, as well as having some of the targeted protection, which can prove to be a little bit useful in today's meta. Although not the be all and end all, the draw is definitely nice, specifically when you're trying to replenish your hand or you're trying to look for specific cards to kind of like slow down your opponent, i.e. Droll, Nibiru, DD Crow. You know I'm writing it, ladies and gents. You know I'm right. Now, the first spell card on this list is Forbidden Droplets, and this comes with a little bit of an asterisk, aka a caveat. Can your deck facilitate it? If yes, then it's probably worth playing. If not, then obviously you can play Dark Ruler No More, which is not as flexible as Forbidden Droplet, but Forbidden Droplet is nice. Addresses a board, stops your opponent from responding depending on what you've sent, and it can actually allow you to OTK, especially in certain specific scenarios or situations. You do have to give up resources though, which can be a little bit frustrating. However, if you're chaining it to like an activated spell, it almost becomes like free basically. So Forbidden Droplet is nice. Do keep in mind though, ladies and gents, Forbidden Droplet has to negate the number of cards that it's sent for its activation. So if you've sent 2 cards, for example, you need to be able to negate 2 things on field. So if the monsters get removed or for something like that, it's really, really difficult to resolve Forbidden Droplet. And that was a ruling that got explained to me by a judge, which I found was really interesting, because I tend to ask a lot of questions at locals, and that was something that wasn't explained. So definitely keep that in mind when you're playing Forbidden Droplet. However, normally players end with boss monsters on board, and Forbidden Droplet likes to just check those boss monsters. They want those boss monsters to stick, so yeah, it's always going to be able to be resolved fairly easily, depending on the situation you're in. But yeah, Forbidden Droplet, ladies and gents, definitely a good card. Now, the final card I want to talk about is Out Designator. Why? Because we are potentially entering another tier 0 format, hence decks are gonna look very, very samey, as they say, or homogeneous, very similar or dissimilar, however you want to put it. They're gonna look a lot like each other, and having Out Designator to hit starters, to hit extenders, to hit combo pieces is really good. Using it to like bait out hand traps is, I feel, like a secondary option. Using it to hit engine, I feel, is really, really strong, especially in the mirror match, which arguably there's going to be a lot of going forward, and there is already a lot of anyway with regards to like Snake Eye. So being able to hit some of the Fiendsmith stuff is definitely going to be really strong. So I can see Out Designator making a bit more of a resurgence in the upcoming meta, just because Fiendsmith and Snake Eye are going to be everywhere, ladies and gents. Now, just before I close, there are some honorable mentions to be had. Destructive Daruma Dharma Cannon, if your deck can facilitate that card, play. It's busted. It's literally a field wipe, and it affects link monsters as well, so it's definitely worth a shout. It's a little bit slow because it's a trap card, it is what it is, but it's powerful nonetheless, and it's probably one of the trap cards you would consider playing. Another card, Book of Eclipse. I think Book of Eclipse is really solid right now, especially if you time it right. If you've used up a number of effects on your field, you can actually just book their field. It does come with a little bit of a caveat. I feel like it's better going second in today's formats, because there's a lot of interruptions that come from everywhere else apart from the field. So you're looking like hand interruptions, you're looking like grave interruptions. So having just Book of Eclipse by itself can be a bit of a risky strategy if you leave those monsters on field and you can't clear the field, for example. So you need to be able to use it to put yourself in a good position. And also, it goes without saying, ladies and gents, Dimension Shifter. If your deck can play Dimension Shifter, you're playing that card. I've been playing quite a few decks that play D-Shifter at the moment, and it's it's frustrating for my opponent, and I get it because it just shuts off their graveyard, but it's a legal card, it's at 3, it's powerful. It will get banned at some point, but at the moment I do think it checks the meta, and with Fiendsmith and Snake Eye running around, they need to fear something, because at the moment I feel like that deck just fears nothing. It's just going to play Yu-Gi-Oh, win Yu-Gi-Oh, so having something like D-Shifter in your back pocket definitely goes a long way. But anyway, ladies and gents, that's just my thoughts and opinions on a few cards that you could potentially use. Like I said, there's 13,000 cards out there. There's obviously more cards that you could definitely include, and if you feel like I should have included it in this list, get at me in that comment section below. And just before I go, I do want to say I've got a feeling that a ban list is going to come up. I don't know when, but I feel like it will happen before the WCQ, just because we've had so much Snake Eye. I feel like it's going to be sooner rather than later. But that's just my opinion. What do you think, ladies and gents? Do you reckon Konami just going to let this ride and play out until after the WCQ and just have all this Snake Eye Fiendsmith everywhere? Or do you think they're just going to just give some decks to chop and just say, look, play with the new stuff? Thoughts in the comment section below. But anyway, we find ourselves at the end of another video. As always, if you did enjoy this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff. And I would definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.